Welcome to E4 Electric live from Bangkok, Thailand. And that's what we're actually going to talk about. I know this is an electric car channel, and I've been doing electric car news and all that stuff for what, already like 7 years, which is kind of insane. But some of you throughout the years, for some reason, actually got to know me and even like me. So a lot of you have been asking me to give an update about my new life. Now, back in the day when I left the United States, I've posted, I think, a couple of videos on this channel about why I decided to leave. And I think even my first impression of living here for a couple of weeks. And I will give you a quick synopsis of kind of update on why I left, but I kind of wanted to concentrate on telling you guys something that a lot of people will never be able to tell you, is what it's like living somewhere outside of the United States after living in the United States for a while. And I will get to your comments at some point for sure. As you know, I try to get to everybody. And let me know where you're watching me from, and also how many countries have you visited. And another thing we're going to talk about today, because this is actually a big deal here in Thailand, and everyone's boiling about this ad from Apple. And it's like a 10-minute advertisement of, I think, an iPad or something like that Apple does. I'm not an Apple guy, but so this ad is essentially takes place in Thailand, and it really makes Thailand look like an outdated third world country in many different ways, which is just not true. Like it's a really poor country. The air conditioning doesn't work. Like the airport doesn't work, even though we have a state-of-the-art airport with way better technology than in many other international airports. And how there's no air conditioning. You have to look very hard for places like that anymore, especially if you're tourist. In this case, these guys are not even tourists. But listen, we can talk about it in a bit. But let me tell you about my story. Let me tell you about why I left America. So originally, because I left America for one reason and I stayed in Thailand for a completely different reason. So I left America because I was a single guy, and I didn't think it was a big deal once I got out of my last relationship, which actually lasted for 7 years. I've always liked dating traditional women, and it was never a problem. I kind of thought that, hey, as long as you're a good man, and as long as you I have a good job, good income, educated. I don't drink, smoke, do drugs, or any of that. I come from a good family, and all of that stuff. You would always have a good, a loyal woman next to you, and that's always been the case in my life. Until that one last time, which has been now 5 years ago, I realized that, and at that time I moved to Sacramento because I already had a house there, and I was starting my channel, and I wanted to go full time, and I already owned the house outright, so I didn't have to have as many, expenses. So, and I thought, well, maybe it's Sacramento, because it makes no sense. I meet a girl on an app, and we chat, we might be video chat, and we agree to meet for a cup of coffee, and then she just doesn't show up. No warning, no follow-ups, cannot reach her. And that started happening so often, and stuff like this started happening so often, and I was like, wow, that's maybe I'm in the wrong place. So I moved to a different location, and I realized that, oh crap, maybe it's me. Like I don't know I mean, I feel like I'm a better man now. I'm a wiser man. I make more money. I have more hair. I did a hair transplant at some point. I have more hair. But at that time I realized that some of my, because I didn't have too many single friends, but I started realizing that some of my single friends are having the same weird kind of a dating experience that we never experienced before. And then I started seeing influencers just come up on this topic that never was talked about how men were giving up on dating women altogether, just kind of keeping to themselves, or the topic of passport bros. And I was like, what are passport bros? And turns out it's men who, like myself, who want to continue dating traditional women, and they just go overseas to find them in more traditional countries that still kind of have traditional values and family values and stuff like that. And at that time, I wasn't that well traveled at that time. I was always afraid of flying until I realized I had to fly to do this channel. And I literally had to, I was so scared of flying. I literally had to take 3 months worth of therapy to be able to get on a plane. And now I've been to 26, 27 countries. Actually, I just calculated, I've been to 7 countries just this year so far already. So I love traveling, and I kind of at some point came to a conclusion that, maybe, by the way, I hate the name Passport Bro, just freaking hate it. But I was like, all right, listen, maybe I should do it. And I researched this and talked to my friends all over the world who lived in other countries, who are Americans, lived in other countries. Researched it and ended up kind of having a list of countries where I would be interested in going, where I felt like the culture was traditional, where my friends lived, and especially countries who actually allow you to stay, indefinitely. Because a lot of, like, for example, I love Vietnam. Vietnam was kind of almost my number one choice, but Vietnam does not allow an American citizen come in and live there for more than like 6 months without having a job that will give you like work visa and stuff like that. So there were a bunch of countries on my list. Thailand was one of them. I had the most friends in Thailand who lived here and kind of told me what's going on, what to expect. And a lot of Passport Bros were going to Thailand. Now, Thailand is also relatively close to Philippines, only like 4 hours of flight. And I said, all right, well, let me go to Thailand. I was already left. At that time, I left California because I knew that California wasn't for me. And I was kind of traveling around America, and I found a new home at Houston. But I was already kind of living out of 3 suitcases. So I was like, well, it's just another flight. I already have my shit together, right? So I sold my gun. I sold my ID4, the Volkswagen ID4, which I know you guys heard a lot about. And off I went to Thailand. By the way, that was not an easy decision. I wasn't like one of those people who like, yeah, why not? No, I knew that I would be ending my life in America, my family, my friends. Obviously I keep in touch with all of them, but it's a different life. But I said, listen, I'm 45 at the time. I need to do something about it. I would like to be married one day, and something I would actually never even thought about doing in America, actually getting married, signing papers. Sounds like a disaster, but and in a place like Thailand where there's no punishment for getting it wrong and getting divorced, I was like, all right, okay, I can do that. So and so I just want to let you guys know this was not an easy decision. So off I went, and when I came to Thailand, I fell in love with everything. So except for one thing, and I'll tell you what that one thing is. But I also wanted to say that I did go to Philippines, and I ended up visiting. I think I've now visited like half of the countries in Southeast Asia and just Asia, whatever. I've been to China, Taiwan, Japan. Just went to Korea, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and I might be missing 1 or 2. But I feel like I moved around. By the way, I might be one of the few people in the world. What's it called? Hashtag humble brag. That you ever know who actually been to all big 3, China, Russia, and America. There are actually very few people I realized that visited all 3. Anyway, so I kind of fell in love with Thailand for all reasons but one. And the one reason was, I came here, and obviously I started dating Thai women. And I even tried some foreign women. I was like, well, foreign women probably wouldn't be that modernized here because they have to compete with Thai women. No, they brought their delusion with them, and actually I don't know till this day a single, or heard of a single Western expat, female expat who lives here, who actually ended up in a serious relationship with another foreigner or a Thai person. I know that happens. I've seen YouTube videos, but very rarely. All right, somebody in the chat, Butch, says, I have a vacation in Thailand, Lapu-Lapu. Actually, Lapu-Lapu, I've been there. The problem is it's not in Thailand. It's actually in Philippines, in the Cebu province, which I actually enjoyed greatly. They had this beautiful garden of, I think, 10,000 roses. And I thought, oh my God, 10,000 roses. How do they keep count? Even though it was still beautiful, all roses were electric little roses that lit up. But anyway, so And so I came here. I started dating Thai women, but I was like, well, that kind of feels the same, you know. Same replies on dating apps, same, not willingness to meet, same attitude. And then I finally realized that, okay, well, I'm dating Thai women who speak English, that are Americanized and Westernized, so that's why I'm having the same. Thai women who actually are traditional, that I men like me looking for. Well, turns out that they don't speak English, and I understand. As a matter of fact, I kind of like the fact that there's a wall built around them, that to protect them against the Westernized culture, and that is learning Thai. So I started learning Thai. Pasa Thai pom mai di loi krap. My Thai is still pretty bad. It's probably one of the most difficult things I will have to accomplish, this decade. It is extremely difficult. I can get around, and I can have a very kind of a. I've dated women here who don't speak any English, so I take classes, 2-hour classes every other day. It's been a challenge, but one day I will be able to get there. So it wasn't the women that I ended up staying here for. It actually was pretty much everything else. And let me just start. And this is, I think, this is the meat of this video, and this is hopefully what you guys, why you guys are tuning in. So let me start with the most important thing. And I know it's a cliche, maybe, but it's not. It's not for me. Thai people. One of the things that I really did not like about, specifically in California, though I do have to say that when I traveled through more conservative states, and I ended up in Texas. And by the way, I'm an independent. I do not like either party. I personally don't like either one of the candidates, by the way, even though we have a new one for the Democratic Party. Don't like them. But so it wasn't a political thing. It's just I noticed that in California, people just were not very respectful anymore to each other. And it just, I mean, it was just the culture just, I felt like, was just, again, when you're not nice to a neighbor, right? When you see somebody, like I ended up living in an apartment complex in Oakland, California, when in a bougie one, like really expensive one. And I ended up coming to the elevator with people who I've seen before. We know we're neighbors, and not a hello, not how are you, nothing. Like, just like people, and this is even not the worst behavior, and I'm sure you guys have experienced it. Let me know in the comments here in a live chat if you feel that people are less respectful to each other on the street. I don't mean on Facebook and political debates. I mean just on regular life on the street. If people are less polite, if less kind and less respectful to each other, just in the regular life. So and when I came here, guys, I got to tell you, not only have experienced the kindness and respect and everything from Thai people, and I was like, whoa, like they treat foreigners here really well, but they treat each other exactly like that. I like how everybody whys at each other. I don't know the English name for it. Here's called a why, right? You essentially, and the general concept, don't quote me on this, because I almost don't want to look it up, because in my head it sounds so good, because somebody told me that when you why at someone, you're not bowing. People think it's bowing. No, you are ascending your respect to the good part, the goodness that every human being has in another person that you're meeting. So I love that everybody does this to wise to everybody. And I gotta tell you, with every day I just became better and better and better person. And I wouldn't say become, I would say reverted to, because I feel like I was also a very kind person and very respectful and everything. And life in California just beat that right out of me. You basically, when you go about your business and every day, right, whether you go to Starbucks, Chipotle, you go shopping, you go to maybe a live music bar or whatever, you either going to be taken advantage of, you're going to be a pushover, or you have to be an asshole, right? It's just one of those two. And I'm not a pushover. So I had to wear my asshole hat all the time, always push back, and it just hardens you. As a matter of fact, I think one of the reasons that my relationship also didn't kind of work out is because as I hardened, I made her heart hardened, and that, you know what I mean. So in it's definitely so refreshing every day. And by the way, Thai people work so hard all the time. And nothing I love the most, guys, is to go out and sit at like late at night at a little street food, little place, or even work around and see Thai people coming home from working hard all day, right? I mean, 12-hour days. A lot of them, don't always have days off, or maybe have one, and watch them go home tired and exhausted, and yet they will still smile at me. They still laugh and talk to shit, and you can't help but have your all of your sort of worries disappear. So, what, like, if these hardworking people, that work way harder than me, right, for way less money, still smile at a stranger at the end of their day, what excuse does this asshole have to be grouchy and grumpy, right? And just in so many different ways. My, what do you call it? My It's been a while since I've been in therapy, but they call it the patience tank, right? It's always full, right? If I mean, once in a while somebody would do something kind of shitty, right? And I don't like it. And a lot of times it's another foreigner, right? And I'm not on the edge anymore, right? I'm like, all right, here they call it sabai sabai. It's like, what are you gonna do? Maybe he's having a bad day, maybe she's having a bad day. So it's just in it. So can emphasize that people in environment heal. It just makes my life amazing. But let's talk about other things. And this is where I wanted to talk about, this commercial that Apple put out, just kind of like talk, essentially, marketing department of Apple must have researched Thailand by watching The Hangover 2, and then maybe watching the videos from like 20 years ago. Uh, Now, besides, let me just quickly tell you the number of skyscrapers here that I can see out of my window is, I think, might just be more than like top 10 biggest cities in America combined, including New York and Houston and so forth. Okay, it's beautiful, it's modern. I mean, I live in one of these buildings. Little, just the quality of my apartment here, and even my bathroom and the shower is just so premier. The service here is premier. My internet that I paid $20 a month for is 500 up, 500 down, something that I couldn't even get in America, no matter how much money I paid, and I pay like 5 times more. Um, I never had my lights go out. I never had my internet go out. My phone never lost reception for a second. Something that happened to me every year in America, right? So which one is a developing country? You tell me. But let's talk about something very important to me, for example, healthcare. So healthcare here, and obviously, I have insurance, and I go to one of the best hospitals, not just here in Bangkok, not just here in Thailand. We have one of the best hospitals in the entire Southeast Asia, with Western educated doctors. The whole place actually looks like a hotel. It's got restaurants in every building. It just really feels like you're in a luxury hotel. But of course, the most important part is the doctors and nurses and so forth. So it is, by the way, you can make an appointment by chatting with them on a chatting app. It's just so top of the line equipment, obviously. Medication that's not even available in America. There are a lot of hanky panky going on in America with approving drugs and everything, but we have a lot of drugs here that are available, that are good, they're tested for decades, that are just not available in America. And I got to tell you, like, there's some health issues that I've had here that I had in America, and the medication that was available here for me just wasn't even available in the US. But let me give you a good example. So a few years ago in America, for some reason, I had some tightness, like my chest felt tightened, right? And I guess it was because of stress, because it ended up being nothing. But and I had one of the best PPO, Blue Shield California insurances out there, and it took me 2 weeks to schedule an appointment with cardiologist, with a heart doctor, right? Even though I was like, hey, who knows, I might be having a heart attack tomorrow, right? And then it took another 2 weeks to send me to the heart test, right? I think it's called stress test, and then I think it took another week to get the results. And the only reason I got the results was because I had to call them and say, guys, Anything? What's up with my heart? Um, to quote the modern philosopher of our time, don't play, don't. Okay, now I forgot it. You put in the chat. Stop playing. Oh, stop playing games with my heart. There you go. The joke would have worked way better if I remember it on the spot. So anyway, so 5 weeks of the guy who thought that he might be having some major heart issues. 5 weeks to get the test. Now, luckily, it was okay. Now, very similar thing happened to me here. As a matter of fact, it was actually food poisoning. But once I got to an emergency room, unlike in America, when it's like, oh, my stomach hurts, they're like, well, let's look at your stomach. Here they said, hey, listen, stomach pain can be a sign of a heart attack. Kudos to the doctors in the emergency room here, where nothing like that I've ever heard, been done in America. So they basically said, well, your heart AKG was fine, but tomorrow, you'll go schedule an appointment with a cardiologist. So next day I woke up, I messaged them. I say, hey, I need to see a heart doctor. They're like, you want to come in the next hour? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I come in, see the cardiologist, and the cardiologist goes like, well, we should do the stress test. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what day should I come in for this? They're like, what do you mean? The nurse will walk you to the stress test. You're going to do it right now. You have somewhere to go? I was like, no. Let's do it right now. And then I go to do the stress test. And then the doctor is right there giving you the results within a second of the stress test being ready. So let's just compare 5 hours versus 5 hours, 5 weeks versus 2 hours. And I can go on and on and on. Unfortunately, I didn't have a very good luck with my health in the last year. Feeling better now, but just the healthcare here. And by the way, 5 to 6 times cheaper. Even though this is the best hospital, you can actually go to a government hospital, which are not bad here at all, and you can go just to a less expensive private hospital and then pay even less. And by the way, annual checkups here, unlike in America where they just do a few blood tests, they're very thorough. They will climb into every hole you have. Like my heart had 4 different tests just for my heart. They do all kinds of scans. Pages and pages of test results from your blood, urine, spit, whatever they can find, right? So, I mean, just very, very, very thorough as it should be. I know other people who live here who've done it for the first time and discovered a lot of things that they normally wouldn't have discovered. One of my friends discovered cancer in early stages, 2 of them actually. So, I mean, healthcare cannot emphasize enough. And honestly, if that was the only good thing about this place, I would have stayed just for that reason. And that's one of the things I did not like about Philippines. I have to say that healthcare there, Now, let's move on to another extremely important statistics. An extremely important thing is that crime. Let's face it, America is quite a violent country. I mean, the mass shootings are now at least 1 a day on average, right? And I've lived in places like Sacramento and Houston and Oakland and San Jose, in Las Vegas, and honestly, not good. And like I said, I'm independent, so I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a gun lover. I don't like guns, but I ended up getting licensed, which was really hard to get in California at that time. Now with the Supreme Court decision, it's much easier. But I ended up getting my license and got all the training and background checks to conceal carry a weapon. So I carried a gun. This nerdy guy who doesn't like guns, carried a freaking gun with him everywhere he went. Did not like that, by the way. I mean, first of all, I like to dress well, and you cannot wear tight clothes if you're carrying a piece under. I mean, it's heavy. You have to go and practice regularly so you're up to date with your skills, and you have a freaking live gun on you, right? So it is, and also, but like, it's okay. So I felt better once I got a gun. I was like, okay, I can defend myself. But what about my girlfriend or my mother or my sister or my nieces or whatever? They don't have guns, right? So I had to worry consistently. All right, now let's fast forward to Thailand. Now, I'm not saying there is no crime here, but there's almost no crime here, especially talking about the violent crime. Now, we did have recently a mass shooting, which I'm not really sure if it's qualified, because I think this asshole, I don't want to say only killed, but Fortunately, only killed 2 people, and this was a huge deal, right? And this is first time in many years here, and it was a huge, huge deal. The security went up and all of that stuff. Um, I have not seen. Forget about gunshots. Like I haven't. By the way, this is a gun-friendly country. There are tons of guns here. A lot of Thai people are gun owners. I have not heard gunshots or seen a gun like unlike in the U.S. Um, I haven't heard anybody being. Oh, we did have some homicides here, but this was foreigners coming in, and that happened. You guys probably heard in the news about hotels. That's how rare it is here, right? You hear it in America when we have a bunch of foreigners coming in, and I think they poisoned each other. So, and here women don't even think about walking down. Like at first, I would be like, "Oh, you walking home at 2 o'clock in the morning in the dark little street?" And she's like, "Yeah, what's wrong?" Yeah, I'm like, nothing ever happens. I mean, I don't want to say nothing ever, but pretty much almost nothing, almost never. So just knowing that you're safe at all times, and then your family and friends and other people are safe at all times. And by the way, you know where it comes from? The Thai culture. This is a Buddhist culture. This is a very, respectful and kind culture. So these are not violent people. They're very kind people, and this is why I wanted to start, my list, a long list of why I stayed here and can never imagine going back to the America. No offense to you guys. I know a lot of people get offended. It's like, Alex hates America. Alex doesn't hate America. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of friends and family live in America. My company is an American company. My audience is mainly American. But for me, I can't imagine. Going there. So crime, right? Let's move on to another one, food. Now, let's just set aside the fact that the delicious, fresh food is freaking everywhere. You guys should be surprised that my body is not this freaking fat, because it's hard to describe. When I say food is everywhere, I mean the food is everywhere. Everywhere. I can go right now, it's 1:30 in the morning. I can literally and you guys are going to think that I'm full of shit, but within 2-minute walk, I will have at least 10 places who will cook a amazing meal for me right now. It's insane. So food and drinks and large amounts everywhere at all times, delicious. But here's the thing. This food is very differently sourced, right? You can almost say it is mainly organic food here because there are no GMO bullshit here. There is no majorly post-processed stuff here. Now, I do want to be fair and say that a lot of obviously organic stuff has to be grown with some pesticide, right? And there is some MSG added in some cases here. But again, personal experience, and I know many other people who have experienced this. So I was gluten-free in America. I wasn't I didn't have an allergy, but I had an intolerance. What does that mean? Eating anything gluten, which means wheat, right? Bread, pizza, any of that stuff would make me sick. Like if you were to eat like spoiled milk with some 3-day-old fish that was running, sushi that was sitting out on the sun, right? You would just get major. So that's how I would react to eating a wheat, because it's GMO, post-processed and everything. Here, I eat covered gluten with gluten filling all the time. That is the difference. Like my body literally just tells me, can't have it in America, absolutely can have it in Thailand. And by the way, many other countries as well. So the food is sourced and essentially organic in a completely different way. By the way, if you think, but most Thai people are skinny. And I don't even mean like fit skinny, I mean like skinny. And it's not because they don't eat much. Trust me, this culture evolves around food. Food is like if you've ever seen any documentaries or what's that guy who died? But the Thai culture evolves around the amazing, delicious Thai food. So Thai people eat a lot, but because the food is not crap inside, they don't get fat, right? As a matter of fact, if you look at the statistic, an average life expectancy of a Thai man, because I looked up man, but it's also a woman, is years longer, 2 or 3 years longer than the one in America. And that ties the food and crime and healthcare together, right? So it's absolutely amazing. Now, I can probably go on and on many things. I mean, I know I have a lot of questions here and comments. I'm definitely going to address all of them. I see a lot of them are from YouTube, some of them from Facebook, some of them from Twitter or X or whatever. But let me tell you another thing, which, by the way, is not a good reason to come here. Unfortunately, I see a lot of foreigners coming here because they can't afford their ass in America or in other countries, and they come here because it is very affordable, extremely affordable. You can live quite well on $2,000 a month here. So let me break down like my I'm going to do kind of averages. I don't want to kill you exactly, but my averages is like this. I spend about a little over $300, $350 per month on my insurance. That covers literally everything. Now, there's no Obamacare, so pre-existing conditions are not covered. Luckily, my pre-existing condition only costs me about $100 a year, so that's fine. But everything else, it covers 100%. And I mean no deductibles, no co-pays, just everything, including medication. By the way, in hospitals here, when you go to a hospital, they don't send you to a pharmacy. They literally give you medicine right there. This kind of like pharmacy is just part of your experience there. Like you don't have to go anywhere else. I mean, you can, for example, if you're paying for cash, then of course a good hospital will have a high markup. You might want to go to a private regular pharmacy, but since everything's covered for me, so anyways, so about $350. Now, in comparison, I spend about $1,200 on my insurance in California, and probably another $300 to $400 a month in copays and all of that stuff, and also checkups if you add it up and average it out. So that's one thing. I live in a probably one of the most luxurious apartment complexes in Bangkok. And I have a one bedroom. It's not a big one bedroom. I like small places, but it's one bedroom. I love my shower. It's beautiful. I live on the 20th floor. So I got also a nice view. We have amazing rooftop. If you guys see my videos, you probably see a lot of times I shoot it on the rooftop with an amazing view of Bangkok. We have two pools like hanging over the building with a view, two gyms, everything, 24/7 security, 24/7 service. The delivery stuff gets to your door if you want to. We have clubs, like when I have a private teacher who comes to me, and we like use this humongous facility where it's just like there's tables and couches, you can lounge around with a view and all that stuff, water and snacks or whatever. I mean, and all of this I pay $650 a month. Okay, just in comparison, when I lived in Auckland, I had one bedroom, which was bigger, granted, and I did have a bit of a view on downtown Auckland, so about like 7 buildings. I paid $3,500. Yeah. So my meals. So my most favorite meal, as you guys know, if you guys know me after, if you've been watching me for a while, I love Chipotle in America, and Chipotle was not that expensive. It was ending up my chicken bowl and my chocolate milk cost me about what, $15 in America at some point. No, probably 12. And now here, my regular meal is I go to this place where there's always this old lady that's selling me a sliced duck fillet over rice with duck soup, I guess, and the blood cubes. If you guys don't know blood cubes, it's just like basically it's chicken, or in this case duck blood, that's kind of boiled and like kind of almost jello that's cut off. I know you might sound disgusting to you. I love it. So and so it's again well sourced. It's a whole meal. It's lunch. I get usually pretty full, and that costs me, like, I would assume in America it would cost me, like in California, probably about $20, I would say. Here it costs me 55 baht, which depending on the currency exchange is about $1.80. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still go to a French restaurant and spend just as much as you would in America, right? But generally speaking, like even McDonald's here, if you go to for one, I just compared it with my friend. We were talking, and I was like, he had a Big Mac meal, and I had a Big Mac meal. And I was like, well, let's compare. And so I think mine was about, no, I'm sorry, it was a filet-o-fish meal. So mine was $99, so that was a little under $3, and his was like 8. So again, it is American restaurant, so it's not as much more cheaper, but still. Um, let's see what else. So I decided not to have a car here because I mean, honestly, I decided if I'm starting my life over, I want things better, right? And driving is a shitty chore that raises your blood pressure and stress. And I don't want to do it anymore. And it's a waste of time. What can you do while you're driving? Pretty much nothing. I mean, you can listen to podcast or maybe a book, but that's not, I'd rather be on the back of a car, someone driving me, and I can either sleep, check on my messages, listen to a Thai lesson or do my Thai homework, or just get my laptop out and work, because 5G here is lightning fast. It's not called Uber here, it's called Grab. We have another company called Bolt, but I use Grab most of the time. And by the way, even that, there's like 10 different things that you can order. You can have a motorbike taxi where you just jump back on a motorbike and they just go through traffic, and instead of an hour sometimes that you have to spend in traffic, you'll be there in 10 minutes. You can get the tuk-tuk, which I actually kind of hate. You can get a regular taxi, you can get a regular car, you can get a premium car, you can get a van, you can get an SUV, you can get a luxury car, you can get a driver to come and drive your car. And I think I'm forgetting a couple. But anyway, so I only use that. Whenever I need to go somewhere, whether it's an hour away or 5 minutes away, I get into a car. And I think it total, right? So basically, like, I don't have to deal with insurance or own a car or drive a car. And it saves me tons of time. So that costs me about $500 a month. Now, by the way, food, I don't even know how much. I don't even think about how much food costs me. Not much. So what else? I told you my internet is about 20 something dollars a month, and it's 500 up, 500 down, which is insane. I can I'm streaming live on like a bunch of platforms, and I probably could have done it directly and still not even bother my my connection. So anyway, by the way, feel free to ask. I'll start switching to talking to answering your questions, but it is ridiculous how much lower the prices are here. So, and just generally speaking, guys, like the transport, we have a SkyTrain and a subway and buses and trains and cars and bikes and whatever you want. Everything is clean. When you walk into a restaurant, for example, everything is so well thought out. The decorations, the attention to details. I mean, the service is ridiculous. Most of the restaurants have somebody standing outside inviting you in and showing you the menu, just with pictures or whatever, right? And a lot of times at the restaurant, when you come in, somebody will be literally standing next to you, waiting on you the entire time. And, whenever you want something and whenever you raise your eyes, boom, there's a person there helping you. It's unbelievable. Oh, by the way, let's talk about technology here. Like, I was in Europe last month, right? And I wanted to, I bought a business class train ticket, right? Business class train ticket. And I was like, well, how do I use it? Like QR code? Will you guys? They're like, oh no, you have to print this thing out and bring us the printed ticket, right? You know how I pay for chicken on a stick for about 30 cents on a street vendor, right? On a little cart. Bank transfer, QR code, bank transfer. That's just how much easier to operate here. Like, I don't remember paying cash for anything anymore. Everything's bank transfer here, which is like couldn't do it in Europe like that. So and of course credit cards, and it's like just everything is just so much better in every single way. Like I said, even when you go to a restaurant or whatever, it's everything just little decorations and little, it's almost sometimes like some of these places just little amazing museums of cool things. So it is just amazing in every single way. So and the thing is, my life in America wasn't even that bad. My life in America was kind of good. I made good money there for sure. And I drove nice cars, and, I had the best insurance that I could, and I carried a gun for my safety. I could afford that. That was not cheap, by the way, guys, just gun training, gun expenses. Even if you wanted to, if I, when I went to practice every month at the shooting range, the rounds are very expensive. I believe the box of 50 was like at some point $40. So, it's recommended that you shoot at least 100 rounds once a month. Well, with a fee from the range and everything is $100 just to go practice for 30 minutes, right? The cost of gun, the cost of license, all of that stuff. So it is, it is it is amazing and wonderful. And then, the problem is like, I keep going back to the shitty Apple commercial, and I hope somebody gets fired for this commercial. It's just like Americans and Western people don't know about it. They think it's a third world country or developing country, and everyone lives here and shit, and then not. And it's literally the other way around. If you think about all of the things that you really want out of the quality life, like healthcare, safety, happiness, good food, good drinks, and not be bankrupt after all of that, it's all here. It's all here. Now, there are other countries besides Thailand that can offer this, right? There are some countries, like, for example, if you're into something in particular, that will offer more of that. Like if you want everything freaking clean everywhere at all times and people wearing ties and suits, then there's Japan, for example. I was in Tokyo. I really, it was one of my least favorite cities in the world, Tokyo, that I visited. But I'm just saying, there's just other countries that you can go. It's not just Thailand. But I'm just, if Americans were actually told and given a real information and real 411 on what it's like living in another country, I think Americans would go spill out on the street and overturn the freaking government, demanding the healthcare, the safety, whatever it is, right? Because everybody likes to talk about this bullshit. Oh, I'm pro-gun, against gun, and or the immigration. But at the end of the day, nothing gets done. This is why I'm independent. I mean, I've lived in America for over 30 years, and I've seen Bush and Clinton and Obama and Trump and Biden. At the end of the day, have we gotten better healthcare? You can argue in some ways yes because of Obamacare, but you can argue in some ways no because it's becoming more and more and more expensive, right? But it's just, I'm telling you guys, it is wonderful here. Now, I do have to say that not everybody can do it, right? For two reasons. One is, I know people have kids and families, and luckily my parents are healthy. They take care of each other. They're still together. My sister is there. I have nieces, and they have their own support system, so they don't really need me. Some parents need their kids. I don't have any kids of my own. I'm able to work, obviously, remotely, and technically I don't really even need to work anymore. So like some people do come here to retire also on top of that, because the Social Security money, that people receive, America, more than enough to live very well here. So a lot of people come here to retire, and I'm kind of lost for words here. So that is my update. I know a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about it. Like I said, my dating life here, I can talk about it, but and I do have to say that the women that I've dated here that do not speak English, are traditional Thai women, are amazing and wonderful. I just didn't find the right one yet. My Thai is not good enough to find the one yet, but I'm working on it. I'm definitely in the right place, right? Like when I looked in America, like here's a good kind of a way for me to look at the dating pools in America and in Thailand. Like an American dating pool for someone like me, it's kind of like going fishing in a pond where you can see that the chemical factory is dumping the chemicals into the pond, into the lake, and the fish is basically like, oh geez, I think I pulled my muscle, and the fish is all dead, and you go like, well, no matter how good my bait is, no matter how far I can throw my line from my fishing rod, I'm not going to catch anything. There's nothing left. Here, I feel like it's a pond, a regular pond, and there is some fish in there. I just need to learn how to fish, get the right bait, get the right equipment, maybe get a little bit further into the water line. You know what I mean? I feel like I can do it, and I see this already. I just need to learn better Thai. I just need to be able to do that. All right. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for behaving yourselves, even though I know some of you did not agree with me. in portion, and some of you did not agree 100%. I appreciate your civil behavior. I appreciate your time that you were willing to spend listening to somebody you don't agree with. I hope I contributed a little bit to your worldview by telling you my story, by showing you and displaying some of my opinion. But I will see you guys next time. I'm going to try to do it around the same time. So it was 1 a.m. my time in Bangkok. I might actually do it around midnight next time, but approximately this time. So thank you guys. I will see you next time. And remember to stay charged.